What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today we are going to talk about some major changes. The first one being a possible presidential change. Yes, this is true. There are now more and more reports that President Biden does not want to seek a second term of presidency. He just wants to be okay with just one term. Now, we will address why that reason is, what Democrats are looking at, and what we could potentially see moving forward. We are also going to address the Federal Reserve's rate hikes. There are now speculation that there are Fed presidents that want to push for a bigger rate hike, be more aggressive. Is that going to happen? There's a good chance, and we will address that in today's video. At the end, I'm also going to talk about $1,000 baby bonds. This means that you would get $1,000 when you're born, plus $2,000 every single year thereafter. I will address, what's going on there and who is proposing that and what are the chances that that even gets passed. So that's what we're going to discuss in today's video. If you have any questions on any of this stuff, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. And if you can spend just 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button. It really does help out the channel. Now let's get right down to it. Here's what we know. There's now a higher chance that President Biden decides he is not going to run or rerun for president again. Now, this has been something that many Democrats feared because they were worried. Is he going to rerun? Does it have anything to do with his age? Is it because of the promises that he made? Well, we are now starting to get some answers. And many Democrats have just been waiting in the wings to see what his decision was going to be. Well, here's what we know. We were expecting President Biden was going to announce his candidacy, his campaign, sometime this month in February. Well, now, according to reports, if he decides to rerun, he will announce in April. This means Democrats are going to have to wait even longer. Now, why is this? Well, according to many reports, Democrats need a change. And they want to make sure that whatever the change may be, they have the right person set up for the job. Is that going to be President Biden? Well, we don't know. And here's why. Many Democrats fear that they cannot improve Social Security and Medicare without raising the Social Security income tax cap. That is currently at, I believe, $162,000. Now, they cannot raise this cap because President Biden promised nobody making less than $400,000 per year would see a penny more in taxes. So, Democrats can't do anything because of that one promise that President Biden made. Here's the other issue. Sometime soon, and again, this is one of the reasons why Democrats were waiting and hoping that President Biden was going to announce his candidacy in February, is because hopefully pretty soon the Supreme Court's going to have a ruling as to whether or not that up to $10,000 in student loan forgiveness, whether or not this is legal. Can President Biden do this? Well, if this doesn't go through, President Biden, or really Democrats, worry that voters are not going to vote for President Biden anymore. Because if they voted for him, they voted for Democrats in this past midterm election, and they did all that knowing that there was a student loan forgiveness program going through, then it gets blocked, and now it may not go through at all. So that's part of the worry, is did some Democrats lie in order to get this through, in order to get themselves into this position, and now they just can't perform. So those are a couple of reasons why some Democrats fear President Biden is not going to rerun, is because he may not be the right person for the job moving forward. So we'll see. But let's talk about another job, and this is the job of the Federal Reserve. A lot of people are waiting on the Federal Reserve to release their minutes, which they're going to do later on today. Based on all the reports, there are many Fed presidents that want to see more aggressive rate hikes, and we need to see it come a little bit faster. For example, we did hear from the Federal Reserve president from St. Louis, James Bullard. Now, James Bullard, he wants to see the Fed be more aggressive, okay? And he says this. Let me read this statement from it. He says, "It has become popular to say, let's slow down and feel our way to where we need to be. We still haven't gotten to the point where the committee put the so-called terminal rate. Get to that level and then feel your way around and see what you need to do. You'll know when you're there, when the next move could be up or down." Now, just to give you an idea, the Fed predicted back in, I believe, November of 2022, that the terminal rate would be around 4.6% sometime in 2023. The current federal funds rate is 4.58%. Many believe this should be closer to 5%. Now, here's what James Bullard continued on to say. He says, and I quote, "If inflation continues to come down, I think we'll be fine. Our risk now is inflation doesn't come down and reaccelerates. And then what do we do? We're going to have to react. And if inflation doesn't start to come down, you risk this replay of the 1970s where you had 15 years of you're trying to battle the drag. And you don't want to get into that. Let's be sharp now. Let's get inflation under control in 2023. So his statement is saying, if our risk now is if inflation doesn't come down and reaccelerates. That is exactly what I've said multiple times here on this channel over the past month, or actually the past 2 months, being that it's February 22nd. But one of the things that I've said is the risk is as inflation is coming down, which is good, right? The problem now is it's sticking, and it's sticking in things that we cannot control, that we have to buy. It's not a new car. It's not some new clothing, right? A new washer machine, and new appliances. That's not where it is sticking. Inflation is sticking in food, in energy, in housing so far. So the worry is inflation is coming down. The problem is it will accelerate. It is going to accelerate. That is part of the problem. And this is what James Bullard says is that's the risk is if inflation doesn't come down and reaccelerates, then what do we do? That's why he's pushing for, I believe, a 5.4% terminal funds rate. That is much higher than what it is currently expected to be. But again, we will have answers on this later today. Now let's talk about something else that we are wanting answers on, and that is that $1,000 gift to children. This is something that I got a bunch of questions on over the past couple of days, but Democrats are now renewing their proposal to give $1,000 to every child at birth. Now you're probably thinking, well, what if I have children that are 6 and 13 years old? Are they going to get anything? Well, yes, they would. They just wouldn't get the same amount. Now, if this bill were to pass, which I personally believe that it will not, okay, but this has the makings of a bill. This has, the idea behind it of let's make sure that children, from birth to 18 years old, they are going to get something. Because right now we're giving the families, the parents, $2,000 per year per child. Well, what if we gave that to the children, locked it in, where you could not use it, the parents could not access it until the child was 18 years old, and the child would get it? Would that be a better idea? Some say yes, it would, because some families, and this is where it's kind of two different ideas, but for lower income households, they need the money now to be able to pay for food and diapers and clothing and schooling and things like that. But for a higher income family, let's say a family making over $100,000 per year, they may not need the $2,000 for their child for that year. So let's just lock that away. Let's give it to the child later, right? So those are the two different sides. But in this bill, this proposal, They're calling this the Baby Bonds Fund or the American Opportunity Account. Now, how this would work is any child at birth would get $1,000 automatically. It would get put into an account. It would be federally insured. It's managed by the U.S. Department of Treasury. And so once the child turns 18, they would get access to this money. Well, it's $1,000 at birth and $2,000 per year thereafter. And this again depends on family's income. Now, the purpose behind this is they want to make sure children can fund their lives once they turn 18. Democrats say that this would give them startup capital for children to begin their lives, and it would be based off of their family's income. For instance, let's just kind of break this down. So I was reading this on CNBC. They said, so a family of four, okay? So a family of four, you can go and read this article too. A baby bond bill to give every child $1,000 at birth has been reintroduced in Congress. How would it work? Well, here's how it would work. So a family of four, let me go and pull this up so you can see it. So family of four right here, okay? See it right here. So a family of four with less than $25,100 in income, the account may reach $46,215 by the time a child reaches 18. This is based on 2019 estimates. Now it says those sums would be reduced for families for higher incomes as annual supplemental payments gradually phase out. So a family of four with income of $125,000, a child turning 18 would see an estimated account balance of $1,681. That would be because there would be $0 annual payments because this family makes too much money. Now, that is actually a very interesting bill because again, the family, someone making over $100,000 per year, if they have one child or let's say two children, because again, family of four, if you have two children, you get $4,000 for the year. If somebody's making $125,000 per year, do you think they really care about $4,000 at the end of the year? Likely not. So this is a bill that has been reintroduced. Do I think this is going to pass as is? No. Do I think this is going to be voted on in the House of Representatives? I don't. Do I believe this has the makings of being part of a bigger bill? I do. And the reason I say this is because Democrats want to give children some money, right? Give them money every single year. Well, if this money can be managed by the Treasury, cannot be accessed, so we're giving out money, but that money that we're giving out cannot be utilized. Not until the person's 18 years old. Guess what that does? That takes away that $2,000, potentially $2,000 child tax credit. They pull that away. Right? And this is something that we could see Republicans get behind a little bit. But if we remove the $2,000 child tax credit for every child every single year, we remove that, and instead we're giving it back to them, but in an account managed by the Treasury, guess what that does? Guess what that does to inflation? It brings it down. Because even though that money's still there, you can't utilize it. You can't spend it. Okay, so that's the other issue, is this money is going to push inflation down. Now, we're going to see what happens moving forward. I don't think this is going to pass as is, but if it does, or if we get more updates on this, I promise I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. Again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing. Do me a favor, go ahead, hit that like button, and I will see you guys on the next one.